Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Your eyes don't deceive you. Yes, the coffee mug does say Emily on it, but I am not Emily. Last time I checked, that would indeed require a lot of explaining. But this video is not about identification. This video is all about Scarlet Witch Sigil. So Scarlet Witch Sigil is a champion that, is put into the sigil. You can't really get it for free unless you grind her out in the arena. The arena recently came and went. But for me, I'm just about to end my free summoner sigil. There was an arena, you were able to grind out summoner sigil, you got it. And the amount of the sigil tokens, I was able to get myself the awakening on Scarlet Witch Sigil. And I'm very happy to do that. But I thought what I do for this video is just kind of like have a look back, because I haven't played the champion in a while, as to like the reasons. Like, I do like the champion. I have ranked 3, it has a 6-star, why I like the damage, and kind of reacquaint myself with it, and also look at the signature ability and look at whether or not it's any good, look at the percentage changes and things like that. Now, I just want to kick off the video with some footage, so just right into the action. I love this champion with Suicide Masteries. Recently I had Suicide Masteries and I decided to take them off. I took them off because I wanted to do some things with Eternity of Pain and some certain champions, and after, I think there's a certain point next week or something like that, I'm changing them back. I'm going to get Suicide Masteries again. Oh, that's it, because I don't want to waste my units, and that's one thing that always irks me about MCOC is the loadouts that were meant to come. So yeah, that's the thing that kind of like frustrates me at the moment with that, and changing my masteries. I don't want to go into my units. I want to keep my units for July 4th deals and try and get as many as possible. Now, the point I want to get to is Suicide Masteries with Scarlet Witch Sigil. I really like. One downside is that if you're throwing the SP1 or special attacks that you're rotating around, it can mean that you'll recoil. If you recoil, you'll take damage. That's not good. Now, Scarlet Witch Sigil does have a regeneration that does pop up from time to time, and that is good. Part of the chaos side of things is that it will pop up with some sort of regeneration. So there's kind of like, it's not so bad, and I do like the champion. I like to build up instabilities, which you can see top left hand corner. I'm building up instabilities. I've got 4 at the moment. One of the things that I've kind of learned to do with the champion is to throw 3 SP1, so I get 6 instabilities. I'll then go for a parry, which there, and I'll do a heavy attack, boom, there, and I get I then go down to 5. If I keep myself on 5, it means that I then don't overclock over, and what I like to do is make sure I keep it to 5 as a sweet spot, go into an SP3, and when I've done the parry heavy attack, I build up a power gain buff, and I'm able to build up to my SP3 rather quickly. And you can see the meaty amount, 9k per tick on the degeneration, which is literally just going to be like, we're just going to wait out Winter Soldier, just kind of go down. Even if you don't hit, which you can see on the footage right here with Cat Marvel Classic, if you don't hit the amount of instabilities that you're mainly hoping for, then maybe a mediocre like 6k for it. Ignore the mistake, but like the point is like, look, if you miss the amount that you require with it, like you're still going to do some damage with Degen if you use the instabilities, but like with that Winter Soldier one, 9k per tick on instabilities. And I think there may be some kind of like buffs there as well that kind of like helped out to the damage potential, especially when I went into that SP3. Possibly, I don't know, especially looking back at the footage. It's difficult to say with it, but you know, those degens, they ticked off 9k at a time. It's still beautiful to see and great amount of damage. And obviously the astute among you will notice that that was an unawakened version, but as I said, like, this is always talking about the damage potential. I love it. I love using champion Suicide Masteries, but I do think that it's good. It's a good champion to take into different content. There's a particular path that I need to do in AQ. Apologies again. This is a week where I'm saving up content for a vacation, so I'm kind of like rushing around, and I need to do my path. But on this particular path, especially with the likes of Red Skull. Now, sadly, I don't have the champion in my my team, my AQ team. I would have done, and I should have done, but that's the story for another time. I'm doing map 8. But with this, you get persistent pressure, which gets an unstoppable buff. And I would say that the rotation for the champion would have to be with an awakened version, getting a particular armor break debuff, because it's diss track. So you've got to put debuffs on the enemy. So what makes complete sense is an awakened version of Cat Oh god, wrong one. Scarlet Witch Sigil. God bloody hell, Richard, what's wrong with you? I haven't drunk this coffee yet. That's the problem. Don't worry, I will be slurping on it in a second. But yeah, the reason that the Awakened version will be better for that particular scenario is I need champion to do debuffs. The champion against champions that are Cosmic, Mystic, and Tech have a 20% chance per instability to inflict a Petrify or Armor Break debuff for 3 seconds. That's somewhat handy, right? So there's a chance that that will kind of like pop on. Great, okay, but I would need to rotate around SP2s. The reason I would need to do SP2s is because of the amount of debuffs that you get to put on. Each hit inflicts a random debuff. Duration is increased by 20% for each buff on either champion, max 10%, max 100%. So that helps out. That's what my rotation would be with that champion, is to, number one, hope that I'd be able to do stuff with the Awakened ability, which, you know, helps out a little bit more to put those debuffs on to then do said kind of distract interaction, but the SP2 rotations are the key. And then for that particular fight, I would kind of do a parry heavy in order to get the power gain to rotate around SP2s more frequently. And also the great thing about this is dealing with that unstoppable. Now you can look to, in this particular interaction that we were talking about, to go, okay, well, I'll bring in a slow debuff champion, but nullifiers work just the same. You know, I could go into here and use, a lot of the time I use King Groot just because I like King Groot. I got SP1 rotations of armor break to be permanent armor breaks, which means I don't need to worry about distract. But that's the only thing, is finding a champion that will be able to do debuffs, but also either suppress the unstoppable or just interact with kind of like being away from it. And again, the point I'm kind of getting to is that I like this champion. I like it better being an Awakened version, especially with having that interaction of having the potential for the Petrify, the Power Sting, and the Armor Break. Now I've hopped over to the Content Creator Beta because I want to put in 200 signatures and have a look how the stats improve, and you know, just by putting in 200 signatures. And obviously the question would be, is it worth it to awaken a champion? I simply did it because it was just an extra chance to get a debuff, as I said, for handy for the content I've planned her for. But as well, the champion is effective as just being an unawakened champion. It's a great champion that you simply need to go into a well-timed block and you're able to nullify. That is incredibly valuable in various different areas. But I wanted to have a look whether or not like Armor Break, Power Sting, and the Petrify are actually worth it. And from a potency standpoint, like how they kind of like change. So like let's check some numbers here. So 40%, 537, 2057, right? We go to 200 signature and let's see. 100% potency for Petrify now. We've got a 1433 for Armor Break, and we've got a 4116 Power Sting. And yeah, like the problem that always will remain with this is the consistency and the chance and the RNG of the throwing of or getting of those particular effects. Or if those effects are good, but if they're only 20%, how does that really help out a player? This is where your instability comes in. So one thing we're going to try and do right now is build up instability, which is now at, I've got 2 instability, which that means 40%. Every time you get an instability, it's 20%, and that's what gives the greater chance to it. It does mean that your rotation, it's a difficult one. As you want to get to 5 and then throw an SP3, which I'm going to be looking to now, it does mean that, you know, now we're up to 80%. But, you know, I'm going to be looking to kind of throw my SP3 any moment right now. Or kind of not right now, but kind of like throw my special attack there, which might get me 6. No, I've played it, so I'm going to get 5. But the point is, like, now we are at 100%. So if I choose to kind of like keep my instability there, it means that like Power Sting, when it like pops up there, or when Heal Block or Armor Break, depending on the champion I'm going up against, is doing their thing, that you know, that's what it's going to be, and it will always kind of like cycle through, which is doing right now. You know, I'm now up to 6 instability, but what I want to do is kill off that 1 instability that I've got in order for not to lose my instabilities. So there we go, back down to 5, so I'm back to 100%, and I keep my instability depending on what I want to do with it, whether or not I want to build up to an SP3, which I'm doing now, to kill off the champion. That's kind of like how that rolls with that whole scenario. Part of me really wishes that some of these debuffs would stay on longer, especially when trying to do some of this stuff, Because you're like, oh, if that Petrify was on a little bit longer, maybe I would have been able to suppress something else, like suppress a type regen type champion a bit more. I'm not to say it won't do it, it's just a case of having it available more for those particular scenarios of suppressing certain things. And look right here, it's very good against champions that have part of their kit things like unstoppable, and it's great to have like the copying of the buffs, which I've just done. I've just copied a buff and like building up, and I think the building of the champion when it comes to instability is quite quick, so you'll get to those suppression levels, those nice suppression levels of what 60+% a lot more frequently, and as well just kind of like, look, just the great damage. But what was that, like less effort there, and like 8k per tick on the Degen. So it's such a great champion. If you get some regen up at the same time, it can be quite sustainable. But I would say if you're running Suicide Masteries, it does cause a little bit of an issue. Non-Suicide Masteries, still great damage, but more of a utility, kind of like a mid kind of champion with that. But yeah, a lot of fun. So, Scarlet Witch Sigil. Very good Awakened, especially if you build up those instabilities. Could have some fun applications. As said, I really want to test out some stuff with map 8 on AQ and see on some of my routes whether or not she's a good replacement. I definitely know of many people. I know Dan of Frontline MCC, who we do the podcast with. I know that he uses her. I think he uses her in AQ, and it could be like a similar thing with the route. She has a lot of applications in various different places, and I'm hoping that in Act 8 and 8.1, which is going to be out, fingers crossed, in the next couple of months, that we could see like some champions like her be used, because let's face it, Act 7 was very much a Magneto and Doctor Doom fest. Yes, other people use other champions, but most commonly you could use a lot of the two champions that I mentioned. But yeah, that's been a video. Has anybody got her? Is anybody enjoying it? Did anybody kind of work towards getting in the arena? Thoughts in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching. Check out some other content located on screen right now, and I'll see you very soon, whenever that will be. Cheers everybody. Bye bye.